Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about why Dungeons and Dragons commentary often sounds like religious fervor from a distinct portion of the D&D community. Okay. All right, so let's get into this. So first of all, this is essentially in response to a gentleman by the name of King Waspinator. I'm going to link the video he did below that prompted this video. Very interesting D&D commentator. I don't agree with the vast majority of his material. And by the way, unfortunately, you have to be 18 plus to hit that link below because he uses some spicy language. I'm telling you right now, if you're a D&D commentator, cut the curse words, right? Like, it cuts out a lot of people. It cuts out everybody 18 below, and it also cuts out just people who are civil and kind and tolerant and nice, right? Like, I don't know why you need to use the F word in in D&D commentary. It really isn't necessary. I've done about 3,000 videos without it, right? Like, but here's the thing. I get it. A lot of people who swear and curse, they're not even aware of it. They can't, and they're not even able to remove it from their language. There's a guy Kyle Kalinske. He's a political commentator, and he's like, "Oh man, maybe I should put on my big girl pants and be able to talk like a news anchor rather than cursing like a sailor." Right? It's just sorry sailors, because maybe I don't know. Sailors don't curse. Anyway, so I don't agree with most of his points, and I certainly don't agree with his language. But boy, do I like his genuineness. He talks deeply about Dungeons and Dragons, and he is going straight off the top of his dome, baby. And he is talking very directly about Dungeons and Dragons at what is approaching a pretty deep level, right? And so what he was saying is that he recently got called out, and he got called out by a person who was like, "Hey," he was called out by a person because he dared to say that Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power is salvageable. Now, I get this, right? Like, this is a huge issue. Basically, Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power is dealing with the same problem that Dungeons and Dragons is dealing with, which is, oh my gosh, how dare you put diversity in my Dungeons and Dragons? And Lord of the Rings is the same thing. It's the Tolkien community going, oh my gosh, how dare there be diversity in my Tolkien world, right? And we're like, hey, wake up. Like, we're trying to bring everybody in here. We want Tolkien to be inclusive, and we want Dungeons and Dragons to be inclusive. Wake up, shed your prejudice and join us in the real world, right? Like, so he got into it, and he's like, these people are talking to me like Tolkien is a religious figure, right? And this commentary they're having, these comments on my material, sound like religious fervor. So why does Dungeons and Dragons commentary from people who talk about it at the deepest levels sound like religious fervor? It does. First of all, it does. Who is it coming from? It's coming from charismatic, confident, intelligent people, right? And the reason why it sounds like religious fervor is, okay, this is what I think. This is the reason why, in my humble opinion. First of all, it does. I'd say 10%, 10 to 20% of people who are talking about D&D commentary actually are not talking about subclasses. They're talking about the deepest end of the pool. They're talking about how Dungeons and Dragons slams directionally in constantly to politics, culture, and religion of today, right? And specifically American, and then by extension everybody else in the world cares, because everybody cares about America more than any other country in the world, probably more than all the countries in the world combined, because it's fueled by freedom and liberty, and every country should going to end up like us if the world moves toward progress, right? So that's okay. All right, so here's why. All right, first of all, I'm a sacred, right? I believe in a sacred. I'm a person of faith. I believe in a supernatural, and I believe that there's things that are sacred, right? So I've already gotten my calling to change the world, right? And also, when I was 6 years old, sitting in a Baptist church, they're like, we're going to talk about the word baptism. And I want you to listen up. Semantics ain't a thing. Words are the most powerful things in the world, and they actually are. When words are spoken by distinct groups of people, they're more important in action because they prompt 1,000 actions from other people, right? So us sacreds, us people of faith, we've known for a long time that words matter, right? And that they can fundamentally change the entire shape of the world instantly, right? And we are called to make the world better, right? This ain't new. This ain't our first rodeo. But you seculars, you lost, people who are not sacred, do not believe there's a supernatural, do not think there's anything in the sky greater than them. Y'alls don't know about the power of words, right? You've been drabbling around, dealing with the dross and not the gold, right? And the reality is, you don't understand that semantics is if you ever hear anyone say the word semantics and saying, oh, that's just semantics, they are saying, I am a loser in life and will always be a loser in life because I do not understand power. I don't understand value, and I'm fundamentally foolish. You will never hear anyone with even the remotest amount of intelligence ever say that's a semantic difference, because they're saying words don't matter. But on the person of faith side, on the sacred side, we know words matter, right? Jesus Christ, I am the Word. I am the Word, right? Like, he's like, I literally am the Word, right? Like, and the Word was God, right? Like, and he's like, and I'm going to say words to you, and you're going to reshape the entire world according to those words, right? Y'all seculars don't know, right? This is your first rodeo. Welcome, right? Like, right? And here's the thing. That's what Gary did. He called the secular world to abandon fully the idea of semantics. And that's what Dungeons and Dragons is. It's like, oh no, this ain't about cutting goblins in half. When I put alignment in this was philosophy. When I put alignment in this was asking you whether you're good or evil. When I put the pillars into this game, right? When I put the pillars into Dungeons and Dragons, exploration, interaction, combat. This is about combating your deficiencies. This is about making every relationship you have deeper, even with your rivals. This is about exploring yourself, others, and the world. Words matter. Welcome to the party, lost people, right? Words matter, right? And that's the key. That's why D&D commentary often sounds like religious fervor. It's the secular world realizing that words are the most powerful thing in the world, right? And this actually goes against what I've said previously. I'm like, actions speak louder than words. I was wrong. Words speak a lot more powerful than actions because they can multiply actions in the people who are hierarchically working their way up to understanding the power of words. So somebody who understands the power of words can speak a few and garner millions of actions from people who don't understand the power of words. Words are more powerful than actions. And that goes against what I've said in the past. But that's the other thing is people are like, hey, you said this before, now you say this. I grow and learn. I play Dungeons and Dragons and I study the Bible. Those two things are not going to leave you unchanged. And that's the other thing. Gary Gygax is not a religious figure. He was a fully mortal man with zero supernatural powers. But what he was he was the number one human in history to leverage legacy. And Gary Gygax is doing more work dead than he ever did alive. He had 14 years, 2 plus 12. 2 years building Dungeons and Dragons, and from 1974 to 1986, he burned the candle at both ends, baby, right? And what he created is going to be unpacked for 3 centuries. We barely understand it right now, what's really happened. He built a narrative engine, transformed narrative for humanity, and built the next level of human and intellectual evolution, in my humble opinion, right? So welcome to the party, lost people. Words matter. They matter more than action, right? And the reason you end up listening to people talk about Dungeons and Dragons, right? And it sounds like religious fervor, is you guys are just now figuring out what people of faith and the sacred always knew. 2 things. Words are the most powerful things in the world, okay? And the things we engage with should move us toward perfection. Gary did this for lost people. People of faith already got it. Like I knew when I was 6 years old and a pastor was talking about baptism that words were incredibly powerful. It's why I'm a writer today, right? And it's why I spend so much time on Dungeons and Dragons and why narrative is one of the most important things in my life, right? But for the lost, this is your first rodeo. So that's why a lot of D&D commentary you listen to and you hear sounds like religious fervor, in my humble opinion. What do you think? Why do you think so much D&D? Why do you think so much D&D commentary looks like religious fervor? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.